I'm a lifelong Southerner, married to an Indian man who grew up in South Africa during apartheid, and I am fiercely proud of both. If you don't like that, well, bless your heart. I'm Sheryl Parbhoo, and this is Southern Life, Indian Wife. All right, welcome back to Southern Life, Indian Wife. Today, I have a super fun guest. I've got Karen Schwettman. She is co-owner of a local indie bookstore near me, FoxTale Book Shoppe in Woodstock. And I've got her here to talk to me about books and business and publishing and all the ups and downs of talking to authors and crazy people and the crazy business. So welcome, Karen.
Hi, Sheryl. It's great to be here.
Thank you so much. So let's talk a little bit about who you are. I know you've got this super cool Southern accent, but I don't really know where you come from.
Oh. Well, I was born in Rome, Georgia.
Okay.
And I lived there most of my life until my husband got a job in Salt Lake City.
Whoa.
So we went to Utah for 5 years.
Culture shock.
It was quite a culture shock. When I got back home, I wanted to kiss the ground.
I bet you did. Kiss that red Georgia clay.
Yes, and we have trees here, and that's very important.
Oh, yes.
So after that, when I was in Utah, I started working for an interior design studio. I worked for the House Revival. I worked for Sherwin-Williams. And when I came back to Georgia, I opened my own business, interior design business. And I did that for a few years. Mm-hmm. And then when the kids grew up and left home and I started having grandchildren, then it was time to think about doing something else.
Okay, so
thus the bookstore.
The bookstore. Okay, so you must have been a reader before you decided to open up a bookstore.
Oh, yes. I've always been a reader.
Yeah.
I've always been passionate about books. Books have been my lifeline my entire life. It's my go-to. It's my blanket. It's my safety net.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've told me once or twice how many books you can read in a few weeks. So you just got to tell the listeners, this blows me away. When you go on vacation, how many books are you going to read?
About 14 or 15, maybe a little more, maybe a little less.
Holy cow.
But that is how I like to read. I like to have binge reading sessions.
Okay.
If I'm off during the week, I like to spend the whole day reading. I like to spend all day on Sunday reading. And then, of course, my vacation binges.
Wow. I feel like I have reader's ADD. I can't sit down and do that. And I feel like for me, it's kind of the technology screen age that we're all in. Like me, I'll sit down to read a book and then my husband puts on Netflix and he's watching some cool show about Vikings and it just distracts me. So I think you're doing the community and the world a huge service by opening an independent bookstore. How did you just decide? Did you just decide one day, oh, I'm going to open a bookstore?
Almost.
Really?
Yes. I went out to visit a friend who was working in Denver.
Okay.
And while I was there, we went to the greatest bookstore ever called The Tattered Cover.
Okay.
And it had everything I wanted in a bookstore. The wooden creaky floors, stairs,
oh, wow.
Lots and lots of books, lots of people to talk about books with. And I thought, I want to open a bookstore. And my friend said, well, why don't you?
Yeah, what's stopping you?
And then I thought, why don't I?
Yeah.
And so while we were there, we had this idea in mind. And one night we went up to Red Rocks Amphitheater. It was right at dusk. And we got out of the car and there was a fox sitting right in the parking lot, about 2 feet away from me. I looked at her. She looked at me. She got tired of it, walked away. And so we're thinking, oh my gosh, what a fabulous thing to happen. I know it means something. What does it mean? I don't know. But when I got back, I met a friend for lunch and she said, oh, I've been looking up animal totems and I found the fox. So this is what it means to see a fox. And so she started reading me all the energy and the power that this particular animal brings. And then she said, foxtail is the symbol of feminine creative energy.
No way.
And legend has it when the female fox turns 50 that she becomes human. Well, I just turned 50.
No.
And here was the fox. And so we decided that was going to be the name of our store, FoxTale.
Okay.
And that's where the name came from.
Yeah, I always wondered about that. I thought it was super cute, but I never knew where it came from.
Well, that's the story behind it.
Interesting.
And then I had a few other friends that went into the business with me.
Mhm.
Since then, the three of us have gone our separate ways.
Okay.
And so now it's only me in the store.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, Jackie
Okay.
recently retired.
Okay.
So things are a little bit different. I'm writing a new chapter of my life, it seems.
Mhm. But that's okay. New chapters are good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hard. I'm sure change is hard, but
It's always hard, but it's exciting too.
yeah, that's great. Well, I'm so glad that you're keeping it going, because when y'all opened, how many years has it been?
It is 12 years.
Really? Oh man, I
Mhm.
feel old,
Mhm.
because I was thinking it was maybe 6 or 7 years ago.
It goes by fast.
Oh man. Yeah. So when y'all opened the doors, I remember going in there and thinking, wow, we finally have a bookstore here in, the boonies of Woodstock. We were still kind of the boonies back then.
Yeah, it was. It was
Yeah.
kind of quiet in downtown. Downtown was just beginning
Yeah.
to build and pick up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there would be times when I would take either just myself or take my little ones, because back then
Mhm.
I had little ones, to Barnes and Noble, and just walking around and looking at the beautiful covers. It was, heavenly. And I was so happy to see that y'all were going to be close and I didn't have to do that. And it's a small, warm, inviting environment, not like a Barnes and Noble, which, they have pretty book covers,
They
but
do.
that's about it.
But that was part of what I wanted
Mhm.
with my background as an interior designer. To me, the most important part of design is how your space feels.
Mhm.
It can look great. It can be decorated beautifully, but unless it feels welcoming and cozy,
Mhm.
then I feel like I've missed it. So that was my goal
Wow.
when I decorated the store.
You did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
I love walking in there, even if I'm not in the mood to buy a book, which is rare.
Yes.
It just feels good to go in there.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
I also got to know you and, other people at the store when I took a creative writing workshop, that you were in the
Yes.
workshop.
Yes.
And that's also another thing. Not only do you go in there and feel like you want to read every single beautiful book on the shelves, but you want to write too. So that environment really stimulated that for me. And I'm sure lots of people.
I'm glad. We actually started out as writers. We met in a creative writing class, my partners and I.
Okay.
And that's how we got to know each other so well, because we had been in class together for several years. And our goal in the beginning was that we would teach classes or we would take classes. Little did we know how much time running a bookstore actually takes.
Can't
A
even
lot
imagine.
of people think, oh, it would be so much fun. You just sit in here and read all day. I can assure you, in 12 years, I've never read a book in the store because there's not the opportunity for that.
Right.
But we did find some great resources to teach classes
Mhm.
for us. And just being there and being a part of that helped. It fulfilled the part of me that wanted to write,
Mhm.
is seeing other people do that and seeing what they've produced. I
Yeah.
still write from time to time, mostly now just journaling or logging information in case I want to write something later on.
Yeah, that's a great idea. You have to keep those things close, because
Mhm.
I'm sure there's going to be a time when you're ready and you're going to sit down and you're just going to pound out that book.
Well, we'll see.
You will. You will. I can't imagine not being surrounded by all of that your whole day. the beauty of it. So
it's exciting.
Yeah, you've got to do it.
It was exciting.
Yeah. Well, your store, I mean, is truly responsible for me getting my novel, The Unexpected Daughter, out 100%, because I had a bunch of kids at home. I was losing my mind, had to write, my story.
I do.
And I took a couple of classes at Kennesaw State in creative writing and just didn't really connect with people. And then I saw online that y'all had a creative writing workshop with Wayne South Smith, who was doing it. I said, okay, I'm just going to get away on a Saturday. My husband can deal with the kids.
Yes.
And did the workshop, met him, got him to help me get through that book, and did my book launch there. So yeah, I mean, I'm grateful that y'all are there if nobody else is, and I'm sure they are, but at least you helped me.
Well, I love being in on the early part of your work. As soon as I met you and heard your story, I wanted more.
Oh, good.
Of course, you didn't know, but for some reason, I've always had a fascination with India, anything Indian. And here you are, married to an Indian, and your stories are just very compelling.
Oh, thank you.
Your book is an easy sell. You earn the right to be on the favorite shelf. It's well done. It's funny. It's poignant. So I can't say enough good about it. And I'm looking forward to your next book.
Thank you. And thank you for that honor of having it on the bookshelf, because I thought no one is ever going to read my book to begin with. So to have it on a bookshelf like that made my life, my whole year. So that was wonderful. Thank you. So you've gotten to know people through the writing classes, and you get authors in there all the time. So, me, I'm a new author. I'm learning the business as I go, which is, the school of hard knocks, really. It's tough. So how does it work being an owner of an independent bookstore? Because you have to deal with authors, publishers, publicists. I mean, crazy amount of different people from different angles, I imagine. So how does the whole business work?
Well, when we started, we knew nothing about book selling.
Oh, wow.
We only knew we loved books and writing.
Okay.
So we learned the hard way, just like you said you're doing. And at first it was overwhelming. It seemed futile to try to get big authors. How do we do this?
Yeah.
Because the publishers want you to be able to produce sales, of course. And until you have been in business long enough to earn those authors, yet at the same time, it's like, how do we get more authors if you don't give us authors?
Right. So, Catch-22.
That was the first couple of years were frustrating, but we looked for different ways. We just had to get creative of how we could attract authors and how we could bring them into the store. Okay. So at first we did a lot of local authors.
Okay.
Luckily, Terry Kay was local, and he agreed to come out, and he was our first big book signing.
Awesome.
I'll never forget it. It was in October. It was the most beautiful autumn that we'd had in some time. And I just remember driving up 575 to go to work, and I was so happy. I mean, what could be better? The sun was out, the leaves were orange and yellow, and Terry Kay was in my store.
Sweet.
And it was a successful event, and I think Terry really helped kickstart us. He would use us for offsite events when he, read at different places. He would ask us to be the bookseller. And because he's been around Southern authors for a long time, he introduced us to a lot of Southern authors. So
that's fabulous.
That's how we really got started. And I'd say for the first 5 years, we got more and more authors until after 5 years, some of the big publishers were ready to take a chance on us.
Wow. So 5 years of hard work, climbing, scraping your way up that wall. But that's enlightening, because I had no idea, as somebody that just sat down to write a book just because I was going to write a book, how hard the business is on all sides.
It is, and I think the business has progressively gotten harder just because of the age that we live in. We really saw a drop in the early years. I'd say about the second year we were there, the economy, tanked. And if we hadn't started the bookstore when we did, we wouldn't have been able to, because it would have been too discouraging.
Right.
But, our customers kept us going.
That's amazing.
For that slump of time, we lost 11 businesses in downtown Woodstock from 2007 to 2010.
Wow.
We saw a lot of businesses that had been well established not be able to make it. And then, the economy turned and businesses started flocking to downtown Woodstock.
Yes.
But what got us through was our faithful customer base. It was the community that, they took a chance on us, and they stayed with us and supported us, and hopefully we gave them what they wanted too.
Oh, I'm sure you did. And, I had no idea how faithful customers would be to a small bookstore like that, because when y'all opened, I didn't have a heck of a lot of time. I wasn't able to be involved in things. But, once I wrote this book and I got involved with the store and saw how many people come to these events, and you do have these faithful, loyal people that are there at every event.
We do.
And I love it. And it gives me hope that there are still readers in the world.
Oh, yes. There's lots of readers.
Yes. But sometimes I feel like, wow, I'm the only person in my little circle that likes to read. I remember talking to an old neighbor one time who I told her that I was a writer, and I told her what my book was about, that it's about an intercultural family saga. And she looked at me and she said, "Oh, you write the smart stuff. I like to read, Time Magazine, or not Time Magazine, People Magazine. I like to read the stuff that I don't have to think about." And I was like, "Oh, you're a reading teacher too."
Oh, no.
I won't name her name. But I just feel like so many people have started watching Netflix and given it up. So it's nice to know that there are stalwart people that are still going to keep going.
There are. I think the biggest area that I see that is falling behind in reading are middle grades. When we opened, middle grades were our biggest sellers.
Really?
Kids were in there all the time.
The Rick Riordan books.
Yes. So many of those series, they followed those, and they were in there during the summer. We used to have kids that had come up there and sit on the back row of the bookcases in the floor and read for hours.
Wow.
And their moms would call, "Have you seen so-and-so?" "Yeah, they're back here reading." "Okay, just checking."
Oh, that's my dream for my child to do that.
I know.
I will never have that happen.
And it was great, but I see little of interest in books now. And I think it's because they're so used to everything instant.
Yes.
They're gratified immediately. A book isn't fast enough for them. It's not like a video game or them talking to somebody on social media.
Right.
And it is almost punishment for them to have to read. And that makes me very sad.
Me too. Like so I have a 12-year-old. He's in 7th grade. And I remember back when I was in 7th grade, I was reading everything I could get my hands on. And a lot of the time it was my mom's books.
Yes.
She probably doesn't know this, but I read The Thornbirds when I was in 7th grade, and Shogun and some Stephen King books. I loved it. I snuck it. It was my guilty little sneaky pleasure. I can't imagine my 12-year-old voluntarily reading a book. And it's because of that darn Fortnite and all those games. And he really does treat it like it's punishment when I I have to make him read a book, because I say, "Look, your brain is rotting. You need to exercise those muscles." But he just doesn't see it, because you're right. It's not that immediate gratification.
Well, I have 6 granddaughters.
Oh, 6 granddaughters. Ooh.
Yes, no boys.
Oh.
So girl power.
Yeah, heck yeah.
But they don't like to read. It breaks my heart. I'm like, and I have a bookstore and you don't like to read?
Not a one of them likes to read?
Zoe Monet, who is 9 now, she could read very well before she started kindergarten. She's always been a book lover.
Mm-hmm.
So she is my main one.
Good.
And we started a book of fairy tales when she was 7.
Aww.
And every day she would come over and we'd read a fairy tale, and then we would mark it off our list.
Uh-huh.
Well, then they moved to Michigan, and I kept the book of fairy tales. So when I went up at Easter to see her, and it had been 2 years since I'd seen her, and I pulled out that fairy tale book, she started crying. She was so happy to see that book.
Oh.
And we sat down and we read as many stories as I could get in that visit. And we just came back from a week from there, and I took the book again, and she read me a story every night before we went to bed.
Oh.
So she is my biggest reader. I really want, I'm excited for the time where she could read things like Little Women and The Secret Garden and Anne of Green Gables and all those that I loved when I was growing up.
Yes. And hopefully she won't get distracted by all the screen stuff and all that. Well, noise out there.
We'll hope. But her dad is a software producer for video games. So I'm up against a big challenge.
Yeah, I'm not going to hold out too much hope then, right? Yeah, my family's not readers either. My own husband has not even read my book.
Are you serious?
I'm serious. Now, granted, when I was writing it, I did read a lot of chapters to him, but a lot of those chapters were deleted and changed. And so he doesn't even know the story.
Oh, I think you should sit down and read to him every night.
I should. But then he'll probably punish me by sitting me down and reading me dental journals or something awful like that.
Okay.
So I don't know. Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Yeah. So this bookstore is just like an oasis of art, I think, for us. The written word, people can go there and experience it. But independent bookstores are having a really hard time surviving right now. And I don't think that everybody out there understands that it's important to buy locally and not from Amazon. And to buy new from the author, from the bookstore. Just because it saves you money doesn't necessarily mean that it's good. So let's talk about that.
Okay. A lot of people ask me, how can you compete with Amazon? We can't. We cannot compete with Amazon, and that's what I always tell them. However, we can offer things that Amazon does not.
Yeah.
Amazon offers quick delivery and a discounted price. When you come in our store, whoever is there is going to walk out from behind the counter and greet you and ask you what you're reading.
Yes.
Talk about what we're reading. And we like to put the right book in the right person's hands.
Yes.
You're not going to get that at Amazon.
Definitely not.
You won't get an author event. You won't meet the author through Amazon like you will in an indie bookstore. I had a phone call one day last week, and it was a young man who was looking for a gift book for his girlfriend. He told me what he wanted, and I told him, about 3 or 4 different books that were on my shelf that I would recommend. And then when he got through, he said, there is no way I could have even paid for that kind of information if I'd gotten on Amazon to look for it. So not only do I want to buy this book from you, he gave me a list of other books to buy.
Wow.
And it was, what a great guy. But there was so much joy in just being able to find him what he needed and to talk books with somebody.
Yes.
That's what we do best. That's what we love.
Yeah.
So we do have some things that, so that you're not forced to use the A word or the K word.
Yeah.
But we don't have a Kindle. What we have is Kobo.
Mm-hmm.
And there are ebooks, and Kobo is an e-reader designed in Germany, especially for indie bookstores.
Okay.
So we do have that available and the store available. We have audiobooks through Libro, I should say.
Libro. Okay.
And it, if you sign up Libro and leave Audible, your first 3 books are free.
Wow.
So that's a really great deal.
That is. And Audible is not cheap. So it's not like, you're getting a great deal.
Right.
With Audible.
Well, you probably know, but a lot of people may not know that Audible is owned by Amazon. Goodreads is owned by Amazon. So when people are really pushing a book, it's Amazon behind that book.
Yes.
Not necessarily the readers that, we're looking for great recommendations from readers, but what we're getting is really just filtered down from Amazon in a different way.
Right.
So what I think about, because so many people will come in through the course of a day, I can't tell you how many people will tell me on the phone or in the store, well, I could get this cheaper on Amazon.
They tell you that to your face?
To my face. Or they will wait until I've explained some great books and go, oh, thanks. I'm going to go order it on Amazon.
Yeah, and then they're looking at their phone probably as they're walking out.
Yes.
Oh.
Well, remember in Peter Pan where they were talking about fairies and somebody said, I don't believe in fairies. And Peter says, what? You don't believe in fairies? Every time somebody says they don't believe in fairies, a fairy dies. That's how I feel about Amazon. Every time you order a book from Amazon, it helps an indie bookstore die a little more because after a while, if it continues the way it is now, we won't be able to compete. There will only be one store, and that will be Amazon.
Right. And I mean, it not only kills indie bookstores, but it kills authors too.
Oh, yes.
I mean, I think every author's book has to be on Amazon. My book is on Amazon.
Of course.
And I looked on there the other day and, you know how on Amazon you've got it from, direct from the publisher. Then also you have the used prices.
Yes.
Well, there were people that were selling like new copies of my book for, $1 or $2 cheaper than the brand new price. And so Amazon put it above my link to click to buy it new. So people are thinking that they're buying it new and it's going to a used bookstore.
No.
I mean, that totally screws authors.
It does.
It's so wrong.
The playing field is so uneven. Publishers give Amazon huge discounts. Not the same discounts that we get.
Okay.
And they are able to, because of the volume of sales that they have, they can also have loss leaders. They can afford to give 50% off a bestseller because most of their other books are not that much off. So that is another consideration when you're thinking about Amazon.
Definitely.
I heard some rather disturbing news this weekend. A sales rep told me that an Amazon store is going to be going in right across the street from Parnassus, which is in Nashville, and Patchett's bookstore. And of all places it could be, just the gall that they would choose that site to put their store.
They're poaching the clientele.
They take money out of our communities instead of keeping it here. A lot of things aren't taxed. Amazon's not taxed the way that we are, both as a consumer and as a small business.
Yeah. And, not just with bookstores, but with everything. Amazon is just killing us in so many ways.
Another way we are a part of the community, we coordinate school visits with middle grade or young adult or children's authors.
Okay.
We have a school visit this week with an author. And as you know, we do lots of events in the store.
Mm-hmm.
We're often asked by authors to go to offsite locations. If they're going to go speak at a library or out of town, they may ask us to be the bookseller, and we go and take the books and sell books there. A lot of book selling is loading boxes and unpacking them and packing them. And
yes,
you got to be very strong because you're going to haul a lot of boxes. We do that. And we try to give books when we can. We choose a charity every year to give back. We either buy books for a classroom or give books to maybe a shelter.
Okay.
We've given books to the jails before because we do get a lot of pre-publication copies.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's something that we've all read or we don't want to read, then we can just box those up and send them on to somebody that does.
That's
because
wonderful.
Publishers will often send us boxes of 30, 40 books. And when you've got 10 publishers, that's a lot of reading.
That is a lot of reading. And so you're spreading it to people that wouldn't be able to afford to come into your store and even pay it 50% off, you know, even if you did have the Amazon sales.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. That's fantastic. Because I think the world needs more of that personal connection and people wanting to share literature, art, all the good stuff in life with other people instead of just getting on the computer and getting it.
We've seen so many friendships formed in the store. You know, you've probably been a part of it at one time or another, where maybe you're in the store and we're talking books and somebody else will wander in and they'll hear something and come over and a conversation starts. And it's just, I think especially for women, I think it's a really good place to have connections and meet up with other people who have similar interests, who have the very same issues we do.
Right.
And it's a place to come and be and not feel judged or that you've got to hurry. It's very, very relaxed in FoxTale, as you know. We're passionate about people and we're passionate about books.
Yes.
And the two go together. It's you can't just sell a book. You've got to be really excited about the book. And if you're getting the right book to the right person, I know I said that before.
Yeah.
But getting the book that you need in your hand is very important.
Yes. Yeah, it is. And, you know, I came to the HarperCollins event last week and I had never been to one of those. It was
fun.
What do you call it? A preview event for the coming season. It was amazing because I loved hearing the descriptions of all of these new books. And there are these authors out there that I know have written a million books and I hadn't heard of them yet. But I loved hearing the descriptions and I thought, yeah, I'm going to start reading this author. And I did.
Yay.
I went and got Louise Eldridge's book, La Rose.
Oh, great read.
Oh, great read.
Powerful read.
Yes. And I love it. And had I not been at that event, I wouldn't have been able to find that on Amazon and, you know, search, you know, authors that I love writing about powerful family events. You can't get that from Amazon.
No, you can't.
No, but you can get it at FoxTale.
Yes, you can.
Yes. So before we go, do you have a message for people out there who love to read? And where is the best way to find an indie bookstore? So if they, of course, you know, people that live in Woodstock, Georgia, they're going to come to FoxTale. FoxTale is famous. It's wonderful. But what if you live somewhere that doesn't have an indie bookstore close by? Can you order online?
You can
from stores?
Order online at most any bookstore, indies.
Okay.
Indie bookstores. We have our own bestseller list every month.
Okay.
So use your computer for something good and go into Google and just type in Indie Next.
Indie Next.
Indie
okay.
Next. It will take you to a site where there's book reviews, there's the bestseller list, there's where you can find the links to both Kobo and Libro. for the audio and for the digital books. It will also list all the indie bookstores around the country.
Oh, wonderful.
And all of those are available for you to use.
Okay. So there's really no excuse not to support the independent bookstores because it's all right there.
It is.
Yeah. Okay. So everybody listening, support your independent bookstores.
Please.
Yes, because if we don't, they're going to go away and good books are going to go away.
We need you.
Yes, we definitely do. Well, thank you so much for coming to talk to me about this. Yes, thank you. And I wish FoxTale the best in your future endeavors and you running it on your own. And I hope you don't get too tired from running it.
Oh, and never. If I think I'm too tired when I go in every day, it's just energizing to be there.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And I'm looking forward to your new book, and I hope we launch it at FoxTale.
Well, once it's finally done, yes, you definitely will. So maybe you can just call me and light a fire under me once a week or so and get that book out.
I can do that, Sheryl.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
If you like this podcast so far, please continue following along by tapping the subscribe button wherever you listen to podcasts. If you really liked it, go on, be awesome, and leave a rating and a review. Find me on all social media too by searching Sheryl with an S, Parbhoo, that's Parbhoo. Thanks for listening to Southern Life Indian Wife.
Yo, if we go to 7-Eleven right now, we can be back in time for the game.
I don't know, man. I don't want to miss kickoff.
Okay, but Gatorade is 2 for $2.50 when I use my 7-Eleven app.
Dude, but kickoff.
But how are we going to stay on top of our game while watching this game if we're not on that 7-Eleven game?
I don't know how.
Keep up, dude. 2 for $2.50 Gatorade with my 7-Eleven app.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right, I'm feeling you now.
Thank you.
7-Eleven. Be game day ready. Plus tax where applicable. Valid at participating locations.